Please have a look the picture. Have you seen this picture? Yeah. I was born from the poor family in the countryside as a Khamon province. Yeah, which is located in the middle part of Laos. My parents were not educated. They could not read or write. So they worked at the farm, planting rice, grow the rice, raise animal, buffalo, cow, pig, and chicken. So when I was young, I just helped my parents to do the housework or in the right fields. After I graduated from high school, I got a scholarship to study in National University of Laos. But my parents did not want me to continue my education. Yeah. So they would like me to help them to work at the farm and raise animals. And one day they told me that I would like you to drop out school and help me to work at the farm. When I heard my mom told me that, my tear comes out. I was hopeless. I was unhappy. And then one day, one of my school teachers came to my house and talked to my mom. Try to help them, tell them to understand why it is important for my future education. And then my parents agreed to let me to study at university. This is when I was young. My family is far away from the city, right? Countryside. It's a high school. No. In the year 1986, I think, 86, I started to study at university. The former one is a teacher training college. Now it's known as National University of Laos. At first, at that time, the Russian language was very popular language to study because the one who study Russian language, they can have opportunity to study in Russia, right? However, I decided to study English. Why I chose to study English? The reason at that time, I think in the future, English language may be one of the language that you can use to communicate around the world. That's why I decided to study English. When I first started learning English, my English was very poor at the time. I have to start it from the alphabet A to Z, from word by word, sentence by sentence. I have to memorize them to make me remember the words. After long year practice, my English become better and better. And then, after that 5 years passed, I graduated from bachelor degree at university. And then, I started to apply the job to work at National University of Laos. The reason why I applied to work at the National University of Laos, there are numbers of reasons at the time. I was away from home, from my family, so I could not find the place to live. That's why the university, they provide accommodation for the staff and teacher who work in the campus. That's why I decided to work at the university. After the first year teaching, I taught general English. It includes 4 language skills, right? I learned from what I taught from time to time and make me feel confident and can improve my English year by year. After that, normally students, they are from different part of Laos. Some students who from the rural area is same case as me. They don't learn English. And some students who live in the city, their English is better. The rural area, they have problem with the pronunciation. For example, in the southern parts of Laos, students pronounce the words die. They pronounce as lie. I asked them to pronounce the words, to practice that word many times, but they still say lie. Die, but they pronounce lie. That's because of the influence of Lao language in terms of its pronunciation. And after that, in the year 2006, I applied for the GDS scholarship. And then I got the scholarship to study in Japan for TESOL. And then after I came back to Laos, I was assigned to teach translation subject. And from that time, I have also responsible translation subject as well. Translation and interpretation subject was introduced into the English course since 1997 until present time. From time to time, after teaching translation, I face a lot of problem because I have never trained those skills before. Okay, that's why before teaching, I have to prepare in advance. Read the translation theory before the class. I find some related topic or different topic to give to students from English and Lao to practice vice versa from different topics, right? In order to expand their general knowledge in variety of areas. Okay. As we know, translator and interpreters are not the same, very different, right? Translator, normally they have to translate from the document, from the written text, and the translated version, also written text. But however, interpreter have to translate orally, simultaneously, consecutively for this one. For example, you can see from the conference or the meeting, you can see the interpreter sit beside or behind the speech, right? And then translate into another language. Okay. But for me, it's very challenging, right? Because I have no much background about experience in translating. Since I got this responsibility, so I have to work harder. I try work in the field work, go for the field work to be a translator, and also do some practical work with the student. Give the student to practice, but I have to prepare first. This one. Students encounter many problems while they do translation. Normally, Lao students, they love to translate word for word translation. Yeah, this is a translating class. I ask students to practice interpretation, right? It means they work in pair. One talk in Lao, one translate into English, right? And take turn. Okay, I ask them to practice. Yeah. They face lots of problems, as I said. For example, Lao students love to translate word for word translation. For example, I ask students simple phrases like a go straight ahead. Students directly understood that. In Lao meaning, it means ไปซื่อ So they translate from Lao meaning, it means go name, right? That's a strange, very strange, right? Meaningless, right? This is they didn't think deeply about its meaning, right? Okay. After I have learned from my experience, so I would like to conduct a research on the translation problem. So I conduct a research on the student problem in translation and interpretation, and at the Department of English, Faculty of Letters, National University of Laos. And I use sample purposive sampling, right? And there were two objectives that I used. The first one, I would like to have a look. What are the problems of students in learning translation? And the second one, how can I find out the way to improve the student learning interpretation and translation? So it comes up with the final message that there are 5 problems that students encounter in their learning translation and interpretation. The first one is motivation. Second one, teaching method. And the other one, linguistic problem. And next, cultural problem. And the other one, translative and interpretive skill. Based on the finding, I can suggest the pedagogical implication. First, teacher should find out interesting translation activity to encourage students to involve more or participate more in the classroom translation. And the other thing, it means teacher should be well trained before teaching translation and interpretation, because it is a very hard job for this one, right? And the other thing is that material should be available for students, also teacher, for example, lab or the room for practice translating, right? And beside that, if possible, if we let students to do the field work for translation, work with the company for the short term or just a short training, or be interpreter with the field work. Right? So, on pedagogical implication is a big job or big issue to do. That's why we cannot do without one day or cannot do alone. That's why we need cooperation or with on educator, teacher, researcher, and also a student to improve this skill, right? And hopefully, one of ASEAN teacher here can apply what it means, can know, be aware of the problem of teaching translation. Thank you very much.